On the roof. Enjoy, athletes.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I can tell how excited you are. Oh, don't forget, you're going to stay on mute until it's time for the sing-alongs. Awesome. Um, we are doing Fiddler on the Roof. I know you're ready to go. We have so much to talk about. So I'm not even going to do anything else. And I'm going to turn it over to John. And John, get us started.
All right. Well, I'm so excited you all picked Fiddler on the Roof. It is a really unique and special musical, so it's a real treat to get to focus on it with you all.
Pardon me, John. Later,
yes, Christopher.
Do you want me to hear me play Fiddler on the Roof on the piano?
We're not going to be able to do that right now, but thank you for offering that, okay? We have so much we want to cover, and if we have time, maybe we'll be able to do that at the end. So, Fiddler on the Roof came about in the musical came about in 1964, so mid 60s, and a lot going on in the United States at that time. And it's written music by Jerry Bach and the lyrics by Sheldon Harnick, who together also wrote the musicals Fiorello, which is about a mayor in New York, and my favorite musical of all time, She Loves Me, which I promise you at some point we will do with you all. But Fiddler on the Roof is their most famous work. The script was what we call the theater is the book of the musical, was written by Joseph Stein, and it was adapted from a book called Tevye and His Daughters and Other Tales by Sholem Aleichem. And that book was written in 1894, between 1894 and 1914. So this material that this book is, or this musical is based on, is over 100 years old, and it's still a musical that resonates with us today. It's about a Jewish life in a small village in Imperial Russia at the turn of the century. We'll get more into the plot later. The original production opened on Broadway in 1964, like I said, and was directed and choreographed by Jerome Robbins, who is a name you might recognize because he directed and choreographed West Side Story when it opened on Broadway. They chose the name of the show as Fiddler on the Roof because of a Chagall painting. You can see the Chagall painting behind Kristen right now. Oh, and there it is. She has it as a slide as well. It looks like someone's trying to enter the room.
Oh.
Let me get my settings back.
I will work on that.
So that's the painting that was inspired. It's the name of the painting is called Fiddler on the Roof. It was almost, the musical was almost called Tevye and His Daughters, which is the name of the book. But they chose Fiddler on the Roof because they were so inspired by that painting. It was the first musical on Broadway ever to play over 3,000 performances, and it actually won a special Tony that year because 5 or 7 years or so after it opened on Broadway, they reached that milestone. And it's been performed all over the world, productions in London and other major cities, as well as tours, regional productions, and high school productions and school productions that a lot of folks have been able to be a part of. It's been revived on Broadway 5 times. 5 times every decade. If you go back in time, there's been a revival of Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway since it opened in 1964. This is the kind of thing that makes my head explode because it's so rare and so exciting. Once the original production got 9 Tony Awards, which is pretty amazing, and it was adapted into a movie. It isn't as popular of a movie, but it is a movie that came out in 1972. Something you may not know is that in the original cast of Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway, a young lady named Bea Arthur was starring as Yenta the matchmaker. She went on, of course, to become a famous Golden Girl on television. And a young Bette Midler was part of the replacement cast of the original production. It was her Broadway debut. Of course, she became a megastar later in life, but she got her start with Fiddler on the Roof. And over the years, almost every major Broadway performer has performed in some production of Fiddler on the Roof. It's kind of a benchmark experience to have that on your resume. So what I wanted to share and why we were practicing the sharing the screen a little earlier was we wanted to talk about why this musical is so resonant to us today. It's about a very specific cultural community, the Jewish community within Imperial Russia over 100 years ago. But the themes in this musical really speak to all of us. And in order to kind of encapsulate that as a concept, I thought we'd share a video starring someone you may all recognize named Lin-Manuel Miranda from Hamilton, who has his own personal connection to Fiddler on the Roof. And he's talking with Joseph Stein, the book writer, the man who wrote the script way back in 1964. He's visiting his house. So it's a short video of about 2 minutes, and I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go.
Well done.
Can you see that, Kristen?
Yeah. Can you make it bigger though?
Yes, I'm about to do that. One moment, please. Okay, here we go.
I was cast as a son in Fiddler on the Roof in the 6th grade play, and I still remember my choreography. At 3, I started Hebrew school. At 10, I learned a trade. I hear they picked a bride for me. I hope uptown she's pretty. Turn the sons, tradition. Hey, Lynn, how are you? Good. We enter laughing. So
this is my little abode. This is where I work.
you got some quite a Hirschfeld collection here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Fiddler in Japan. That is one of my favorite stories of the intermission at Fiddler in Japan.
Oh yeah. Well, one producer said, "Do they understand this show in America?" I said, "What do you ask?" He says, "Because it's so Japanese."
That sums up everything about the universal appeal of Fiddler. How did you decide what would be musicalized by Bach and Harnick, and what?
Well, we decided among the three of us, we talked about it. They came up with notions for songs. Despite the fact that we were all successful, of all of the shows I've done, that was the most difficult to get a producer for was Fiddler. I remember one producer that says, "I read it and I really like it. I like it very much. But what am I going to do for an audience once I run out of Hadassah benefits?"
In order to understand the show, since I clearly did not understand it when the guys offered it to me, Sheldon gave me a book on Stettles. So I signed up to do the show. The budget was $250,000 for a musical, which today you can't do a one-man show off Broadway. The guys asked me to direct it originally, and I said, I'm the wrong guy. And we talked, and I think I said Jerry Robbins should do it. My thinking was very clear. I thought it had to have universality.
So, what that's talking about there, and I hope you could hear it. I know the volume is kind of low on the video itself, but what that's talking about, one of the things they showed there was the poster of the Japanese production. So this production appeared in fully staged in Japan, in Tokyo, all in the Japanese language, and the Japanese people really identified with the story about Jewish people in Russia. And so there's something about this musical where we learn about a different type of people and different struggles that other people are going through that helps us learn about ourselves and how we relate to each other. And I think, I'm going to get a little emotional here. Right now, when we're going through something so intense, this pandemic that has all of these effects on our lives, we need to have empathy for each other. And so I'm really inspired and really touched by how musical theater can help us do that. So it's really a treat that we can present Fiddler on the Roof to you today.
Thank you, John. Good intro. So let's get right into the plot at this point. I know a lot of you are already familiar with it, so we're not going to get too much in depth. Starts out with Tevye, who's our poor Jewish milkman, and he lives in a shtetl in Russia called... I can't even say it.
Anatevka.
Anatevka.
It's one of the songs. Anatevka.
Yes. He has 5 daughters. This was a kind of a burden back in those days because each daughter had to be married and each daughter had to be married with money. So you gave things away when you had daughters, and you gained women and possessions when you had sons as they got married. But it all goes along with their tradition. And because tradition is one of the big songs, guess what? We're going to sing along. So now is the time to unmute yourself.
Yes, we had to sing the song called Tradition.
That's right.
You ever heard it?
On the
And
roof.
how do we keep
Keep our
balance?
balance.
Balance.
That I can
Balance.
tell you in one word.
One word.
Tradition! Because of our tradition.
Because of our tradition.
Tradition.
Our balance.
Balance.
Many,
Many.
Every year.
Many years.
Here, no, not every
Here.
We have
Here
traditions
and
for
Every
everything.
day.
we have traditions for everything.
Sleep.
Sleep. Sleep.
work,
How to work.
how to work.
How to work clothes.
Close.
For instance,
For
we
instance,
always
we
say
always
heads
keep our heads
Balance.
heads
and
covered.
always
Always
say
wear a little prayer shawl.
Always wear a little prayer
shawl.
shawl.
This shows our constant devotion to God.
Devotion to God.
You may ask,
May I
May ask how
how
to
Yes.
does this tradition get started?
Get started.
I'll tell you.
Don't you?
No, no.
I don't know.
It's tradition.
This is tradition.
Because
Of our tradition.
Because of our tradition.
every one of us
Everyone of us
who
knows
One of us is
what God expects
what
us
God
to do.
expects us to do.
The right hands pass around the house and the whole back and home. Tradition.
All right, I'm gonna stop.
and in the
In the
circle
circle of our little village.
So
we always
good,
have a special
my
pipes.
friends. Thank you so much. All right, one thing I really love about this song is the opposite of, well, everyone go back on mute, please. The opposite of the I Want song that we talk about so much, in that their whole life is completely structured. What they wear, what they eat, what jobs they have, who they marry, who every part of their life, and everyone bumps along very nicely in that tradition. And this story is about not quite fitting into that. But I like how that just lines your whole up. You know exactly what to expect in this town. All right, at Tevye's home, everyone's busy preparing for the Sabbath meal, which is a big deal every week. And the wife, Golda, is ordering all 5 daughters around and back to work. So Yenta, the village matchmaker, comes to tell Golda that his daughter, the wealthy butcher, has decided to marry Seidel, the oldest daughter. This is good news because he's a wealthy man and he knows, and he'll be able to take care of the daughter. It's not such great news because he is almost as old as her father, and they have no emotional connection. But this is where we are. All right, the next two daughters down, Hodel and Shava, are excited about Yente's visit, but Seidel does not want to marry this man. She has her own ideas about what she thinks would make the perfect match, which is, of course, the song Matchmaker, which will be the next one. This one we're just going to listen to. So just listen to, and I only chose a small portion of it, but we'll listen to that together. Here we go.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Matchmaker, matchmaker, look through your book and make me a perfect match. Matchmaker, matchmaker, I'll bring the veil, you bring the groom, slender and pale. Bring me a ring, for I'm longing to be the envy of all I see. For Papa, make him a scholar. For Mama, make him rich as a king. For me, well, I wouldn't holler if he were as handsome as anything. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Night after night in the dark I'm alone, so find me a match of my own.
All right. So just a little sample of that song. And you can see the girls are talking about what they would want in a match.
However, in this culture and at this time, women from poorer families like Tevia's half are required practically to take whatever husband the matchmaker, in this case Yenta, played by B. Arthur, who became a Golden Girl, whatever the matchmaker brings, the daughter must accept. And this is a really, really hard thing for each of these young women to face if that happens to them. And in this story, the oldest daughter, Zeitel, actually has fallen in love with someone on her own without a matchmaker involved in the process, and his name is Motel, the tailor. So when Tevye is delivering his milk, he pulls the cart, his horse becomes lame, and he asks God, what would it hurt? Whom would it hurt if I were a rich man? So this is the context for the next song that we're going to show you a clip from, one of the most famous from the musical.
I'm not really complaining. After all, with your help, I'm
Sorry, want to make it bigger? There we go.
starving to death. You made many, many poor people. I realize, of course, it's no shame to be poor. But it's no great honor either. So what would have been so terrible if I had a small fortune? If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, wouldn't have to work hard. If I were a biddy rich, diddle man, I'd build a big tall house with rooms by the dozen right in the middle of the town. A real tin roof and fine wooden floors below. There would be one long staircase just going up, and one even longer coming down, and one more leading nowhere, just for show.
All right, this is great, but we have so much to get through, and I'm going to stop us here. Oh, this show's going to be hard to get through, John, but we're going to do it.
So many good stuff.
So many good songs, and they're so fun. Yeah, so maybe when we're done, you all just go and watch this show beginning to end.
Yes.
It's so fun. All right, back to our plot. So he sings about being a rich man, how much better his life would be. All right. He goes into town, and there the bookseller tells him about the news of the world, what's going on, and how things are not looking so good for the Jews. Russians there's starting to be a lot of violence towards them in Russia. Russians are attacking them, and they are being forced out of their homes, forced to move other locations. All right. A stranger, Perchik, hears them talking, and he kind of scolds them for just talking about it, not actually doing anything about it. But he strikes up a conversation with Tevye. Tevye invites him home for dinner and then gives him a place to stay in exchange for becoming a tutor for his daughters, 2 youngest daughters. All right. Golda, the wife, tells Tevye that he needs to go meet Lazar because he wants to talk to him. Now, Golda knows that Lazar wants to marry their daughter. Tevye doesn't know this because he doesn't really like Lazar, but he agrees to go meet him. All right. Now, Seidel, the oldest daughter, is starting to be afraid that Yenta's going to find her a husband before Model works up his courage to ask her father permission to marry her. He's stalling because he's scared of Tevye's temper and because he wants to save up enough money to buy sewing machines so he can prove that he can earn enough money to take care of the daughter. But he's stalling and he's about to run out of time. All right. Tevye goes ahead and meets Lazar at the bar. They call it something different. I don't know. The town place where they get drinks. And they start chatting. And Tevye doesn't really get what's going on. He thinks Lazar is trying to buy his cow. So they're talking at cross purposes for a while until all of a sudden the misunderstanding is cleared up. And Tevye does agree to let Lazar marry Seidel. And he's excited because a rich butcher means his daughter will never want for anything. She'll be well protected. And then the whole bar joins in with his song, To Life. And the clip I'm going to show you of that is actually from the Macy's Day Parade a couple years ago. Just because it is the Broadway cast. I thought it would be fun for us to watch that, even though it's kind of a strange setting.
Our agreement to our prosperity, to good health and happiness, and most important, to life, l'chaim, 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 to life. Here's to the father I've tried to be, here's to my bride to be. Drink l'chaim, to life, l'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim, to life. Life has a way of confusing us, blessing and bruising us. Drink l'chaim to life. We'll raise a glass and sip a drop of schnapps in honor of the great and good luck that favored you. We know that when good fortune favors to such many stands to reason, we deserve it too. To us and our good fortune, be happy, be healthy, long life. And if our good fortune never comes, here's to whatever comes. Drink the fire to life. Starovia, heaven bless you, both Nostrovia too. Your health, and may we live together in peace. May you both be favored with the future of your choice. May you live to see 1,000 reasons to rejoice.
my goodness, that's not. They're so fun. So fun.
And
Okay.
so interesting that when we did Beauty and the Beast, we also had a number, the big, awesome dance number also took place in the tavern. So there's echoes, even in Beauty and the Beast, from Fiddler on the Roof.
Or maybe that's just where big dance numbers happen.
You know, when everyone's having a drink and having a good time. Sure. So outside the inn, Tevye happens to hear the Russian constable. So the Russian constable is the representative of the imperial czar, the king in Russia at the time. And this constable has jurisdiction over Anatevka, the village, and is specifically over the Jewish people within the village. And the constable warns Tevye that there's going to be some violence in the coming weeks, that the violence that's happening in different communities throughout Russia is coming probably to Anatevka very soon. And the constable has sympathy for him, of course, but he says he's powerless to do anything about it. So the next morning, by this time, Perchik has started giving lessons. He's a student from, I think, St. Petersburg or one of the big cities. And he's come, Perchik was the stranger from before. He's giving lessons to the younger sister, and they're teasing him about some of his beliefs and some of his thoughts. And Perchik in turns criticizes one of the daughters named Hodel for hanging on to old traditions of Judaism and not paying attention to the world around them being so changing, and so everything is up in the air. So to illustrate this, he does a dance, of course, because this is a musical. He dances with her, and he defies the prohibition against people who are of opposite sex dancing together. You'll notice that song that we just watched, those were all men dancing together. There weren't any women there. And then, of course, also as in every musical, when you dance together, you magically start having feelings for each other, and the two of them begin to fall in love.
You just can't help it.
I know, it's something about dancing.
All right, so later on, a hungover Tevye announces that he's agreed to let Seidel marry Lazar the butcher. Golda, the wife, is super happy about this, but Seidel is devastated, and she just begs her father not to force her to marry this man. That's when Model arrives, and he says, I am the perfect match for Seidel. It should be me, and I promise I will take care of her, and I won't let her starve. And Tevye is completely floored by this complete breach of tradition, because there was no matchmaker. The matchmaker, in fact, set up a match, and this is somebody else indifferent. And Model says that he and Seidel have given each other a pledge, and a pledge is really serious. They have pledged to each other, given their words before God. And Tevye doesn't know what to do. All of a sudden, we've gone outside of the prescribed rules of tradition, and he's being forced to make this choice. And if he forces his daughter to marry this man that she doesn't want to marry, he's forcing her to marry, and he doesn't want to do that. He loves her, and he doesn't want to force her to be unhappy. But that is the way the tradition says he has to go. That's what the matchmaker has set up. Here, and also she'll have to break the word, the promise that she made before God to this other man. And he has this big moment where he has to figure out what's more important. Is it more important to follow the tradition, or is it more important to follow our hearts? And he also is impressed that Model, who's very timid, has managed to screw up his courage to the sticking point, as they say in Beauty and the Beast, and face him and say, this is what I want, and this is how I want to marry her, and I promise to take care of her. So he agrees. He says, all right, you know what? You've proven that you care and that she loves you. Let's go ahead and do this. He does worry how he's going to break this to his wife, Golda, who really wanted the marriage to the butcher. But that'll happen a little bit later, because right now they're so happy that they get to be married. And they sing a song called Miracle of Miracles, and I will play a little bit of it.
Wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles. I was afraid that God would frown, but like he did so long ago in Jericho, God just made a wall fall down. When Moses saw in Pharaoh's Pharaoh's heart. That was a miracle. When God made the waters of the Red Sea part, that was a miracle too. But of all God's miracles, large and small, the most miraculous one of all is that out of a worthless lump of clay, God has made a man today.
Cute.
Yes. So now I'm waiting to get to the gallery view so I can see Jillian's face. Jillian, are you there? Hi, Jillian. We're at the moment, my favorite moment, and I think Jillian's too, in the musical, where the dream sequence happens. And so this is when Tevye, that's right. This is when Tevye pretends to be waking up from a nightmare. So he's in bed, he's with his wife, they're cuddled up, and then he pretends, because he's got to tell her this news, this big change, that he's going to allow his daughter to marry Mottel the tailor instead of the butcher that the Yenta provided. And so he decides he's going to do this via a dream. And so what happens is of course, the stage comes alive with the dream, and it involves her grandmother, who is returning from the grave, and she's kind of a ghost, and she's going to bless the marriage of their daughter Zeidel, who's named after her, and but not to Lazar Wolf the butcher, to Mottel the tailor. And so this is Tevye's way of kind of trying to break it to his wife that this needs to happen. He's having this dream. It's something important. And so what my personal connection to this is when I was in high school, Fiddler on the Roof was one of the first shows I got to do, but I was so nervous about auditioning and trying out for it that I didn't. And I went home, and they still said, "Hey, John, we know you want to be in the show. Please, please, please." And so I ended up being the right hand. It was a big puppet, the right hand of the scary ghost, Frumasera. And so I love this part because it's so crazy and exciting and kind of bizarre. And we're going to show you a little bits and pieces of it. It's a very long number. Kristen, are you going to do that, or would you like me to do that?
I set up the second clip.
Okay, I have the first one. So let's do that. I'll show mine, then you show yours. Is that cool? Okay. So the first bit is going to show a little bit of the dream sequence of the grandmother, and you're going to see Tevye in his nightgown and the grandmother and all the cast and all the smoke and all the effects and everything. So let me share the screen here. Here we go. And then maximize that and play. Oops. All right, so that's that little bit. I'm going to stop my share, and then we're going to have Kristen show the next part. So later on, it gets more elaborate and more intense. In our version, we used a puppet. In this version, she flies. And so we wanted to show you a little bit of what that looked like.
What is this about your daughter marrying my husband? Would you do this to your friend, the name of Rosera? Have you no consideration for a woman's feeling?
Good job there, Frima Sarah.
She's the best.
Yes. All right, so she
I have
has this big elaborate pretend nightmare. You want to finish that up, John? Sorry.
No, actually, I've lost my script. So if you can keep going, I'd appreciate it, and I'll rejoin later.
Yeah, where his ex-wife or the wife who passed away comes back from the dead and says, "Don't you dare let this daughter marry my husband." And Golda, who's very superstitious, says, oh my gosh, we can't let them get married if you're having this nightmare. Obviously, it has to end. So she agrees that the daughter cannot marry the butcher and then must marry, of course, Modal, who wants to marry her. And so that all works out very well. All right, so another day or so later, returning home from town, Tevia's third daughter, who's the bookish Shava, is teased and intimidated by some boys. They are making fun of her. And a soldier comes and protects her. And he is not Jewish, he is Russian. His name is Fredka. And he protects her, walks her home, and starts chatting with her and loans her a book. Letting someone borrow a book was a big deal back then too, because there weren't that many of them, and they were very expensive. So this was very, very special, and they start to have some feelings for each other. All right. Pretty soon comes the wedding day of Seidel and Modal, and all the Jews come and join, and this is where they sing the big song Sunrise, Sunset, which we are not going to do, but I'm just mentioning that it's here because it's such a good song. It's so lovely, and it has been adapted to be sung. I've sung it, I don't even know how many times at people's weddings at this point.
I love that song.
A lot. All right. Sadly, though, at the wedding, a big argument breaks out between Lazar and Tevye about this broken promise. Because remember, it was all just a big ploy, and Lazar didn't have anything to do with it, and he didn't have his ex-wife or his former wife visiting him, and he just knows that his wedding was broken off, and they weren't following tradition. He's pretty mad about it. Things are getting kind of tense, and that's when Perchik ends this argument by breaking another tradition by crossing the barrier between the men and the women at the wedding celebration and dancing with Hodel. And this is huge. People don't cross that line. Traditions are being broken right and left.
So much dancing.
So much dancing. And of course, when you start dancing, you start falling in love. All right. But before that can happen, the Russians that were coming in to cause trouble that we heard about a few scenes ago, this is when they decide to come, right during the wedding. And they come crashing into the tavern, and they ruin the wedding party. They smash the wedding presents. They attack people. They go into the town, set fire to buildings. And basically just sort of destroy things in gleeful abundance of rage and, whatever makes mobs come and destroy things. They do this. And they leave, and everyone's standing there, and the Jews just begin cleaning up the mess. Curtain close, end of Act 1.
Intermission, time to, joyously go get some soda and candy. Yeah, things are getting pretty heavy in Anatevko, right? So time passes, months later, as often is the case in an intermission, and the curtain rises again, and the student Perchik is telling Hodel, the daughter he's falling in love with, that he must return to Kiev. That's the city I couldn't remember the name of. He's from Kiev. And he's going to work towards revolution because a lot of people in Russia are upset by how things are being run. And of course, in the years ahead, there will be a revolution. He proposes marriage to Hodel and admits to her that he loves her and says that he will send for her when he's ready. And she says that she will marry him. So they tell Tevye, the father, that they're engaged, and Tevye's very upset because they're flouting the tradition. You can see how tradition and changes to tradition is flowing through this whole story. And he's upset that they're making their own match, especially while Perchik is leaving. He doesn't have an income. Mottel, the tailor with the sewing machine, has an income, but Perchik does not have that. And so Tevye decides to forbid the marriage and says that they cannot get married. And they tell him, they stand up and they say, we are not going to live our lives by tradition, and we're going to defy you, and we're not seeking your permission for this. We're only asking for your blessing. So this rocks Tevye, right? This is his daughter who he loves. And eventually he decides to allow this. He understands the world is changing and that somehow they must figure out how to change with it. And he says he gives them his blessing and his permission, which is something they didn't expect. So he comes back to his wife, Golda, and tries to explain all of this to her. And they love, he says, it's the new style. It's the thing that seems to be sprouting up everywhere. Everybody's dancing, apparently. And he asks Golda, his wife, who they had an arranged marriage back when they were young, he asks her, do you love me? And they talk about this and they giggle with each other quite a bit. And she admits to him, of course, that yes, even after 25 years of being married together, and raising 5 daughters, that she does love him.
I like that. Even after being married 25 years.
Even.
Not because they were married 25 years.
Sorry.
It's just telling. Okay, so as Perchik's gone off to Kiev to become a revolutionary, and he is arrested and exiled to Siberia. The news gets back to Anatevka, and Hodel decides she's going to travel to Siberia to be with him. This is a crazy thing to do because there's nothing for her to do there. There's nowhere for her to go. Her husband's in jail. And she has to leave her family. And she sings a song that I love called Far From the Home I Love. And I am going to sing that for you right now. Even though we're starting to run out of time, we have time for a song. Let's do that. How can I hope to make you understand why I do what I do? Why I must travel to a distant land, far from the home I love? Once I was happily content to be as I was, where I was, close to the people who are close to me, here in the home I love. Who could see that a man would come who would change the shape of my dreams? Helpless now I stand with him, watching older dreams grow dim. Oh, what a melancholy choice this is, wanting home, wanting him. Seeing my heart to every hope but his, leaving the home I love. There where my heart has settled long ago, I must go, I must go. Who could imagine I'd be wandering so far from the home I love? Yet there with my love, I'm home. Thank you. One of the things I want to talk about this song, I try not to get too far into musical theory when we do this, but I want to briefly, I know we don't have a lot of time. I just got to talk about this quickly. All right, so songs are written in two different modes, major and minor. And in general, in Western music, the major scale is a happy one. La 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 la. Most songs. Songs written in the minor key, la 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 la, are the sad songs. And what this song does is it alternates in the same song back and forth between major and minor. It's her staying home, going away, this feeling that you have when you're at a precipice making a choice between what you know, what you feel, what you want. And it does this in the music so brilliantly without changing the keys. It just goes major, minor, major, minor. And I just love that. Okay, sorry.
Geek out as much as you want. That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how music can change us without us even realizing it. So here we are. We're going to get zip through the end of the plot. Time passes, and now we come upon Motel, the tailor, who's finally been able to buy the sewing machine that he needs. And he and Zeitel, the oldest daughter, have had a baby. And we come across Hava, the daughter that hasn't yet gotten married. And she's trying to get her courage up to ask her father, Tevye, to allow her to marry Fiedka. I can't remember if we mentioned Fiedka's not Jewish. He's part of the Russian Orthodox faith. And so here we have a new part of the tradition that is being...
No problem.
Yeah, another layer. And it really speaks to all that violence that's happening in Russia is about faith. The Russian Orthodox faith in some ways versus the Jewish faith. And so this is very much symbolized in these two young people and their love for each other. And so they come to Tevye, they talk to him, and he reaches deep into his soul again, trying to find a way to love his daughter and do what's right for her. But he just has reached the limit. He cannot accept this. He cannot accept that she wants to marry outside their faith. And it's a line he just cannot cross, and he cannot give her permission, and he forbids her to even speak to Fiedka again, which is very, very sad. And when his wife, Golda, brings the news to him later that Hava has eloped, she, of course, was so in love with Fiedka, she took her own decision into her own hands and made that happen. Tevye, the father, is broken by this, and he wonders where he went wrong. And this is heartbreaking. The daughter comes back, and she tries to reason with him, tries to tell him why she did what she did, why she went and married her love, Fiedka. And he refuses to speak with her. And he tells her that the rest of the family has to consider her passed away and that she's no longer part of their family. So this is very sad for all of them, for all of us in the audience, for me even telling you the story. So meanwhile, the rumors in the town are spreading that the Russians are coming and they're going to start having more violence and expel the Jews from the village, from Anatevka. And the villagers all gather, and the constable, the representative of the Tsar, comes to tell everyone that they have 3 days to pack up all of their belongings from all their homes, put it all into carts, whatever they can carry, and leave. So in shock, they all talk about how hard it will be to leave their home, what's been their home for so many, many years.
So Tevye and Golda decide to take their last two children and head to America, where they're going to have a fresh start. Model and Zeitel decide to stay in Warsaw, Poland, until they can save up enough money to join the rest of the family in America. Hodel and Perchik are still in Siberia. All right, that's when Shava and Fredrika appear to say goodbye, and Tevye won't acknowledge them. And this is the last time he will ever see his daughter. In those days, when you move away to America, you never go back and you never get to see them. And he refuses to speak to her and refuses to even acknowledge her. Shava explains that they are leaving and they're going to Poland because they no longer want to stay in Russia, where this can happen and all the strife between their two cultures. Zeitel says goodbye to them, and Tevye asks recital to add God be with you. So he can't do it, but he asks that it's said on his behalf. And that's the only small little bending he can make, but it's all he can do. Tevye, Golda, and the two youngest daughters leave for America. And this is when the fiddler that we haven't really talked much about, which is sort of a device in the show, he comes out, plays, and Tevye says, "Come on with me." And they leave the stage. And that is the end of Fiddler on the Roof.
Whoa.
It's
Yeah.
a rough ending.
Sad ending.
It is slightly hopeful. It's not like full scale depression, which we all, I think, appreciate, that there's a tiny bit of hope there at the end. The one thing that John mentioned, that the title comes from this painting, Fiddler on the Roof, that we talked about, Chagall. And I just want to talk about why, it's a line that says why they chose it. So Tevye says, "A fiddler on the roof. In our little village of Anatevka, you might say every one of us is a fiddler on the roof, trying to scratch out a pleasant, simple tune without breaking his neck." So that's what they're saying. They're trying to create music, but they're standing on a roof. They're not steady. And that's sort of the thought behind the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, gosh, we're out of time, and there's so much more to say.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to end it here. We have just
time to play the piano for you.
Chris, yes, play.
Please give us a few measures, Chris.
Okay, I will.
It's one of my favorite musicals.
I'm so glad, Jennifer.
I speak about Fiddler on the Roof. I have a shirt.
Oh.
I see that.
Okay, here comes Chris. He's going to play some notes. Thank you.
It was wonderful.
Fantastic.
Nice job, Chris.
Okay, so before we go any further, again, we forgot to set up a poll for tonight. So what we're gonna do is, let's see, is there an old poll on there by any chance that we could just borrow again? Let's see what we got. Oh, good. Which is the lie? Okay, we're gonna do this again. So what you're choosing is, between our next show, it will be Phantom of the Opera, Les Miserables, choice 2, Evita, choice 3. So pick the one you would like to do. Choice 1, Phantom of the Opera, choice 2, Les Mis, and choice 3, Evita. All right, so can you see the poll?
Yep. Yes.
All right, choice 1, Phantom. Choice 2, Les Mis. Choice 3, Evita. And we'll give you a whole minute to do this. I can see that Mark is super excited about Phantom.
All of them. All of them. Do all three.
I know. We're going to run out of weeks again. We only have like 3 more.
Excuse me, Kristen.
If only there was time to do all three.
Oh, we need hours and hours.
I know.
Excuse me, Kristen.
Okay, I want you to take 30 more seconds to answer those questions. I only have 25 of you. So let's see.
Excuse me, Kristen.
Hold on.
Sean, what do you want, Sean? What's up, Sean?
Oh, nothing much, Mark. That was nice of you to pop in like that. That was very nice. Next week I would like to hear the play called some play we haven't heard about before. How about the play called not Fiddler on the Roof? I think we already did that.
We just did it.
How about I'd like to do I'd like to do a musical about about like somebody else chose.
Okay, well, we're gonna find out what people chose in a couple seconds from Kristen.
I get what I get and I don't get upset. Hey, Marcos, nice seeing you right now.
Nice seeing you. We're wearing matching shirts. Bye.
Nice. All right, so the choice was
Pretty
Phantom
clear.
Opera.
Wow.
Woo!
Crashing chandelier and everything.
Played.
This was all based on that scary horror film, the silent film.
I know it's gonna be
Yes.
All right, so
Novel.
1 minute left. 1 minute. I know a couple of you have been really ready to say some things. So Adam, you've had your hand up for a long time. So let's hear what you say, Adam.
You unmute, Adam?
Hey,
Hi, Adam.
I just heard about this play about Witches called Witches the Fiddler on the Roof that my dad just even grew up, which is in his in his hometown, which is in Baltimore. That I just even heard about the whole set, like bunch of the other costume changes, and but I meant to tell you that but I've been kind of studied, which is this class about, which is the music theory class that I was learned that which is how to figure out which is the C minor or in the during the C minor and some of the other things that I might have learned that it goes like on the that Chris does even showed us that but just studied music theory
Adam,
that
that
I
is
was on Mass
awesome.
Bay.
Adam, I just want to interrupt you because it's about 8, but Adam took music theory at Mass Bay, which is a community college nearby. Adam, can I also tell Kristen and John that you do Boston Ballet? You've done it since a little kid. And
wow.
Ashley that's on this call too. Yeah, a couple of our guys.
That's
Boston
great.
Ballet started a program and it's been featured on, I think, CNN or maybe NBC on like the Saturday morning program. And it's gone to other opera places around the country. I think, Adam, it started out for kids with Down syndrome, then it expanded. So
that's fantastic.
That's some art that I thought Kristen and John would want to know. Guys, Phantom of the Opera next Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, John. Thank
See you
Kristen.
tomorrow.
You guys can unmute.
See you tomorrow.
John, are you with us next week?
Nice job, Chris.
I can't leave, Mark, okay? I can't leave, okay?
Bye.
Wednesday morning.
You're welcome.
Nice.
You
Nice.
guys know how to do it.
What the heck?
Bye, Mark.
Bye, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. You can click off.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Elizabeth.
What's up, ladies?
Yeah, Elizabeth was wearing the ghost costume,
Has a
right?
shawl. She looks like, right out of the musical.
All right, guys. If you know how to click off, please do. It helps us.
Yep.
I know some of you guys do.
Bye.
Throw 'em.
I am loving the picture of Beth's dog.
Oh, yes. Hi, Beth.
First step. Talk to a J.G. Wentworth representative today. After all, it's your one.
All right.
Call for your free cash now quote. Call now, you also get
We've got
$25
a TV on
per city.
too. Oh, it's Joel. Bye, Joel O'Connell.
There we go.
Movie and the playbill. I saw the play last month before the bonus came on direction.
Oh, wow. The playbill. Yes, I see that. That's great. You saw it. That's wonderful.
The person is the butcher's wife and the
butcher's wife.
Hey, Ruth, are you okay over there?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, just want to make sure. We love you, Ruth. We'll see you tomorrow.
Already.
What's that?
Good to see you next week.
All right.
I thought it died.
Okay, Ruth.
Bye, Allie.
Bye.
See you.
Allie, thanks for your contributions.
Yeah.
As always, our theater buff, Allie. And Elizabeth
she's got
wins
the
the
book.
costume award. Nice job, Elizabeth. We'll see you next week. And Tim, did you want to play us a song real quick? I think you do.
You put the background on your shirt.
Oh, hey, Walt.
Hi, Walt.
Good to see you, buddy. You snuck in.
Good. Can tell them what's tomorrow.
My birthday and
That's right.
shirt turns into the background since it's green. Turns into the background.
That's awesome. How old are you turning?
6.
6.
Wow.
Well, Jose and I will be at the party where is it?
Library Park.
Holly Park.
Holly Park. Okay.
Not like
Library.
Oh, something about the library park is
The
somehow
library
more
park.
exciting.
It is, but there's no cover, and we're having a Nerf gun battle.
I
We're
can't.
providing Nerf
wait.
guns for the 2 boys that are coming, and so
Good.
I'm not providing Nerf guns for every kid at Library Park.
I think all the kids should gang up on Jose. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, they will.
You
Yeah.
should have seen when we had squirt guns once. That was epic.
Yeah, so the same place we had the squirt gun battle.
Okay. We should probably hit stop on record.
Oh, yep.
Well, I mean, everyone's invited.
Yeah.